Doug, I know that Doug was supposed to be out here first, decided not to scrum, but anyways. Hi, everybody. I don't know, it tells you a lot about Doug Ford and who he is. He doesn't want to be accountable to the media or to anybody else. So, but that's really a question for him about why he doesn't want to come in before the media. Yeah.
What did you make of Bonnie Crombie's appeal to NDP voters to vote Liberal this time?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think people will have watched the debate, will take from that, who it is that they think they can trust to make their lives more affordable, to fight rising costs, to fix our healthcare system, which, frankly, both of those parties have contributed to in the past, making this crisis that we're in. So I think people will look at the debate itself and take from that all they need to know about who we are as leaders and what we offer to Ontarians.
Did you feel this was a turning point during this campaign? Things have been stagnant for 3 weeks. Do you feel that this will do anything to change?
Well, as I've always said, look, elections matter. Campaigns matter, and debates matter too. And a lot of people are just starting to wake up to the fact that there is an election at all in the middle of winter. I say everybody's out shoveling their driveways and saying, "Oh, is that a sign over there, half buried in the snow?" I mean, they're just waking up to the fact that there's an election at all happening right now. And so I think a lot of people will be starting to ask themselves whether, after 7 years of Doug Ford, we can continue along like this. Can we afford another 4 years of this? And who can actually fight and defend the jobs and opportunities that we need here in the province of Ontario? And I think I made a pretty strong case tonight for why I am the premier who will be on the side of people and will be able to address those issues and fight rising costs.
We talk about fighting versus trusting. These are two different words you've just used. Are those two different ways of approaching things, or can they be done at the same time?
I think that people need to know that they can trust the person who they're going to elect as premier and the government that they elect. And look, I didn't mention in the debate, I didn't really have an opportunity, but I'm pretty sure this is the first election debate we've had in the province of Ontario where the premier, the sitting premier, is under criminal investigation by the RCMP. I mean, Doug Ford has made it very clear from day one that you cannot trust him. You cannot trust him. This is the third election where he said he was going to address the healthcare crisis. The third election where he's talked about building housing. Where are the houses? Doug Ford cannot be trusted. And I think the question is, who do you trust to be on your side? And I think that I've presented to the people of Ontario my case for that. I hope that they agree.
When are you going to see your fully costed platform?
So as we put out announcements, we're costing everything and we're putting that out there. And when we have our final platform out, it'll all be fully costed.
All right.
When will that be?
You wait and see. It's coming.
You lost a candidate in Eglinton, Lawrence. I spoke to her. She said that it was because of strategic voting. She thought that the party could lose to the Conservatives, or the Conservatives would win in that riding. She also felt that the party that residents in the riding were neglected. I spoke to people around her who said that the party repeatedly asked her to run in that riding, that she had initially said no, and she said no multiple times before she actually said yes. And even in that case, she felt that the riding association was withering, that there was no resources being poured into the riding. What do you say to that? Were you surprised? Were you blindsided?
I don't know anything about the details of that, but I can tell you that, yeah, it's disappointing. I think it's very disappointing. I believe, and I think most Ontarians believe, that they should have the choice to vote for someone who represents their values. And I think that means that there's a lot of people in Eglinton Lawrence who want to vote for a New Democrat because that's the person who represents their values the most closely. And so I think it's disappointing.
Marit, we had a child, special needs student die in school this past year.
Sorry, what did you say?
We had a special needs student die at school this summer, Landon Ferris. But we haven't really heard anything about improving special education during this campaign. Why do you think that is, and what does your party plan to do?
Well, I know Doug Ford doesn't want to talk about education. I asked him today in the debate, you've cut funding for students by $1,500 per student. What does that look like in terms of the support our kids get? It means that kids aren't in bigger class sizes, right? There's more kids in a classroom, and it certainly means that children with special needs or children who are struggling are not getting the additional support that they need and deserve. And that hurts everyone. So absolutely, the issue in our schools right now is we do not have enough educational assistance. We're losing teachers. We're losing child and youth workers. We're losing all of our qualified, caring adults in our schools because this government chose to take them to court, to disrespect them, and to cut education funding. So we need a government that understands that the success of our students is the success of everyone. It's critical, and I will absolutely be putting more educational assistance in schools and more support for our special needs kids. Yeah.
Is there time for like province-wide standards for special education, maybe stopping school boards from just winging it from individual jurisdiction? Like should there be one enforceable standard across the province?
Look, absolutely, we need to review all of that. And I would say, actually, we need a complete review of the way that we fund education in the first place. Doug Ford likes to talk a good game about education, but he doesn't actually put his money where his mouth is. And we've seen kids struggling and families struggling as a result. I also want to say I'm really proud of our proposal, which I didn't get a chance to mention in the debate, to have a universal food program in our schools. I think one of the things that's critical to learning is making sure that our children have full bellies.
Marit, this is the second topic now that you're saying you didn't get a chance to put into the debate. Why don't you think you were able to talk about
no,
those
I mean,
issues?
look, there's so many issues that are important out there, and debates are the way they are. I thought it was a great debate. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and I think I got my point across on the critical issues that I think people care about right now in the province of Ontario, which is, I think, without question, the rising costs, the lack of affordable housing, sky-high rent, the lack of family doctors, the crisis in our hallway healthcare that was created by the Liberals previously, and then the Conservatives have poured gasoline all over it. These are the critical issues. And of course, we do need to make sure we have somebody in a position as Premier who can defend every single job in every single sector.
Why did you? This election campaign, you are firmly third in the polls. I know you guys look at public opinion polling. What are you planning to do over the next 10 days to resuscitate your campaign?
Oh, look, I think our campaign is going great. Everywhere I go, I see more people showing up. I'm in Sault Ste. Marie, 200 people showed up in a snowstorm. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing lots of people out there, and I think our message is connecting. I do think that elections matter. I think that these next few weeks or days are really critical. And so I'm going to be doing what I've been doing from the beginning of this campaign. I'm going to be getting out there all across Ontario, connecting with as many voters as I can, listening and reminding them of that they can actually have a choice here. I think a lot of people have given up. They've given up on the idea that we can change things with our vote. I want people to know that their vote matters, that they have power in this moment, that we can elect a government that's really going to change things in this province, and I just have to get them out there to the polls despite all the snow.
Do you see this though as a two-election cycle for you, or do you think you can become Premier, and if you don't, what happens to you?
Absolutely,
in your position?
I 100% think we've got. I'm running for government. I'm running for Premier. Doug Ford quit his job a couple weeks ago at a moment when most people would have said, we need a strong, stable government. Doug Ford decided to quit. Well, I'm running for that job. I'm running to be the Premier of Ontario, and I'm going to deliver people a government that's on their side.
Contemplated yet what you're going to do if you fall short of that goal? Will you remain on as leader?
I'm fighting every minute of every day, and I will continue to do it to gain the trust of Ontarians and to elect an NDP government. We have MPPs in every corner of this province. They are incumbents. We have boots on the ground, and we're going to keep building on that support and flipping blue ridings to orange. That is 100% my focus.
Why did you choose not to ask Doug Ford about those sparky comments?
I mean, look, as you know, the way the format of the debate was such that we kind of had to stay vaguely in topic. But look, I think those were outrageous comments, and I don't think they're consistent with the values of Ontarians or Canadians. But people know this about Doug Ford, right? We know this by now. He says one thing in front of the public if he dares show up for a scrum, and then he says another thing behind closed doors. I think Ontarians know that Doug Ford is, you cannot trust him, and that he'll say one thing in public and another behind closed doors. That's who he is. He's also the same Premier who supported Donald Trump. I mean, let's not forget, in 2018, when Donald Trump brought in the steel and aluminum tariffs back then, and we lost jobs in the province of Ontario, he still supported Donald Trump, right? And in 2022, when Donald Trump said, yeah, we're going to block PPE from coming into the province of Ontario, Doug Ford still thought he was the guy for the job, still supported him 100%. Ontarians know who Doug Ford is.
Last question. You said the fully costed platform is coming. What sort of revenue generation tools will we expect for you to pay for all the promises you pledged?
Yeah, that'll be coming out with our platform. I will say this, I'm proud of the record of NDP governments in all across Canada who have run very fiscally responsible governments. That is my kind of NDP. That is who I am. I believe in running a very fiscally responsible government, unlike Doug Ford and the Conservatives, who have decided to waste billions of dollars on a luxury spa in downtown Toronto, costing Ontarians $400 per household, or his fake bizarre tunnel scheme that's going to cost, $100 billion over decades. We need to use the healthcare dollars that we have right now to invest in public healthcare, not waste that money on private nursing agencies. There's so many ways that we can do better with what we already have. All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to quickly say that I think I was able to deliver a clear message tonight about how the Ontario Greens will fight for fairness in this province after 7 years of Doug Ford failing to address housing, healthcare, education, climate, and affordability concerns of everyday people. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Feel as though you had the chance to go toe-to-toe with the Premier standing right next to you?
On occasions, I certainly did. There were a few times, though, where the Premier just made some false claims about my position on things, and I would have appreciated the opportunity to clarify. For example, he said that nobody on this stage is about lowering taxes. Well, I'm sorry. The Ontario Greens first-time homebuyers plan would lower fees and taxes for starter homes built within existing urban boundaries, saving people up to $150,000. We're also lowering taxes on individuals who are earning under $65,000 and households under $100,000, paid for, and by the way, the only party with a cost of platform at this point, paid for by asking the wealthiest in our society to pay a bit more. That's how we create a fair Ontario, and I would have appreciated the opportunity to create a clarification on what I believe was some misrepresentations of our platform.
Your no resonated pretty loudly on the question of building housing on the Greenbelt. Were you satisfied, though, with Mr. Ford's answer to that same question?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was one of the shakiest answers the Premier gave tonight. I don't think he gave a clear answer of whether or not he would consider reopening the Greenbelt for development. And I think at this moment, we need to protect Ontario from Doug Ford and Donald Trump, especially when it comes to protecting our farmland. Now more than ever, we need to ensure our farmland is protected for our food security and to secure our $50 billion food and farming economy that employs over 875,000 jobs. I don't know why the Premier would want to pave that over, and we're going to have to be firm in pushing back against Mr. Trump.
What do you make of Doug Ford not participating in scrums at yet another debate?
Yeah, I think the Premier just doesn't want to answer tough questions. And I think the people of Ontario deserve party leaders who are going to be honest transparent, answer tough questions. That's an important part of the democratic process. And it's unfortunate that the Premier doesn't want to participate in that process and give people honest answers.
Mike, what do you think about, you're the only person who's got a fully costed platform out. What does it say about the other leaders and how they're treating voters?
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked that question is, are any of the other leaders actually going to put forward a costed platform? I think the people of Ontario, with 2 weeks to go here, deserve to know, how are you going to pay for your promises? Are you going to be honest with us about how you're going to be able to implement the things that you're proposing? I think one of the things that really distinguishes the Ontario Green Party's platform, it is all about fairness, building homes you can afford, lowering taxes on the lowest income and middle income workers, removing fees and taxes for first-time home buyers. And we're being honest with you. We're asking the wealthiest in our society to pay a bit more because we have to invest in ensuring that we meet people's affordability challenges and we have the resources to shore up our public services that have been under attack by the Ford government, healthcare, education, being two at the top of the list.
Mike, just one question about the candidate on Canada Carleton, Dr. Jennifer Purdy. Some people are saying that they have like a long history of anti-Israel and anti-Semitic posts online. Do you have any comments that might affect Jewish voters in this riding?
Yeah, I think it's been very clear, and I've been very clear over and over again, that the Ontario Greens are steadfast in combating anti-Semitism, speaking out against anti-Semitism, and standing in solidarity with the Jewish community, especially as we've seen a rise in hate. One of the things that I take that's very important to me as an MPP and as a party leader is we have to figure out how we combat hate in this province, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian racism. We have an obligation as elected officials to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background, their faith, their ethnicity, are safe in Ontario.
Good, sir.
Great, thanks everyone. Have a good evening and enjoy the rest of the campaign as we finish up over these last couple of weeks in the snow. I bought new snow boots. Did any of you get all these snow boots? I bought new snow boots.
Finally, right down.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think we had a great debate. I'm going to repeat my request, if you can. I think that we covered some really serious topics, and I'm so glad I was able to attend tonight and participate. But there's one thing pretty clear to me. If you want to change our healthcare system and you want to have a family doctor, then we need to change the government. So at this time, I'm appealing to all NDP supporters. If you voted NDP before, I want you to vote Ontario Liberal. In that way, we can vote together, we can change the government, and we can get everyone a family doctor within the next 4 years. Together, we can do this.
Why go with this strategy, though? Like, why appeal to NDP voters?
I'm appealing to all Ontarians. I think we had a very successful night, and I think Ontarians really benefited from hearing all of our views. And sorry if I was a little bit feisty. I get a little bit worked up, and I want to, I just want to push back. And whoops.
Bonnie, you brought up Doug Ford's upbringing. You said he was raised privileged. How come you did that?
Because I don't think he understands the plight of real Ontarians. I really don't. I think he sits at a very privileged perch. He was raised in a big political dynasty. He didn't have to work for anything. He was given a company to run. I mean, like the rest of Ontarians, I had to work hard for everything I have earned and everything that I have achieved. I don't think he understands the plight of real Ontarians. And I don't think he understands how people are hurting under him and how his policies have hurt them, life for them isn't affordable under his government, that they don't have a family doctor, and their classrooms are overcrowded and our schools are crumbling. It's so important to invest in our healthcare system to protect it. And let me repeat what I had said earlier. Doug Ford doesn't care about our healthcare system. He doesn't care. He doesn't want a strong public healthcare system because he wants private medicine. And for me, that's one of the things that I'm so proud of about being Canadian. For me, our strong public healthcare system is equivalent to my pride in Canada, and he's trying to dismantle it.
So the NDP is radical and obsessed with fringe wars. Do you still feel that way as you're asking their voters to vote for you?
You know, the NDP are all about high spending. They think money grows on trees. Honestly, they're promising everything to everyone, and you just can't do that. I have the discipline of having been a mayor and running a very large city, and I know how to balance a budget. I've never been able to run a deficit. And I've had 10 successful budgets where we didn't run a deficit. And I think that's so vitally critical. And I think that's the difference between me and the NDP leader.
Bonnie, you've had a couple of controversies with your candidates, including comments about violence against women. Like, shouldn't the bar be higher than that? And how do you feel about that as a leader and also as a woman?
You know, I'm not here to talk about statements that candidates made 10 years ago that I know they regret and they have apologized for. I'm here to fix our healthcare system. You know, I'm sure Doug Ford regrets things he's said, probably even very recently.
These are your candidates. Are you okay with what they said?
I've got to be honest with you. I have been focused entirely on the debate. I'm not thinking about what candidates said 10 or 20 years ago in their youth. If they have apologized for those statements, one of them told me it doesn't reflect who he is today, that he's been reborn and he fights every single day to make his daughter's life better. So I'm not focused on what candidates said in the past.
The centre has not apologized, so what about that?
You know what? I've been entirely focused on this debate, and that's a matter I'm going to look into.
Bonnie, these are your candidates?
Those comments that was actually made last year. One of your candidates said, quote, ask your gay friend Justin Trudeau to do the same. That was last year, not 10 years, not 20 years ago.
I haven't seen the context of that. I'm going to be reaching out to that candidate and any other group that's reached out to me to discuss it.
Under what context would a candidate calling the Prime Minister your gay friend,
obviously it's a very inappropriate comment, and I'd like to learn more about it. I'm going to tell you again, I've been entirely focused on preparing for this debate. I have not had a lot of contact with social media and what our outside team has been saying.
These are your candidates. They're carrying the Ontario Liberal Party banner. There's clearly a pattern here. In the last week, you've had, what, 5, 6 candidates with these comments unsurfaced? Did you vet these candidates? You scrambled to get 124? How do you vet them?
We vetted our candidates, and, we've got a war machine on the other side that is digging into every old tweet. I'm not worried about old tweets that are 10 years old. I'm worried about today and fixing our healthcare system and ensuring that the 2.5 million people who don't have a family doctor will have one in the next 4 years. That's my commitment to them. My commitment is also to cut their taxes and to make their life more affordable, because their life isn't affordable under Doug Ford, and that's what I'm focused on.
Happy with the vetting process, though, or would you like to have done something differently?
Look, I'm focused on getting people a family doctor. That's it right now.
So Bonnie, related to that, during the debate, Marit Stiles brought up how you have accepted nearly $24,000 in donations from people who basically work within sort of the private side of healthcare. What does that actually, you didn't respond to it during the debate, what does that actually say about your party's connections to privatization in healthcare?
Yeah, it says that we accept donations from everyone who is able to donate. We follow the rules to a T, and that all kinds of people in different industries have donated to us, and I'm sure that leader is just a little bit envious that we raised enough money to run ads on the Super Bowl.
Do you like the idea, though, of more privatization within healthcare?
I'm focused for a strong, publicly funded healthcare system. A strong, publicly funded healthcare system. That's my pledge. That's my commitment. Quite frankly. Well, there is some private delivery that exists today, and I'm going to take a better look at it. Is it well regulated? Are they inspected? Do they have the same standards that we have in the public system? Let's put the right criteria in place.
You're also running for your own riding. You're also running for your own seat this election. How are you feeling about that? Are you feeling confident that you're going to win your own seat this time?
Oh, I am absolutely going to win my own seat. I've been in my riding. My son is there every day. I've got an incredible team there. Absolutely. I'm quite confident at all the ridings in Mississauga.
Mr. Ford mentioned a lot about special education so far this campaign. Considering we've had a student die this year, are you looking at any kind of provincial standards? Will that be
Thank you. Thank you for that question, and that is such a tragedy, and my sincere condolences to the family. That's the last thing anyone wants, is a child hurt, and particularly while they're at schools. We need to invest more in our education system. That's the reality. We need to hire more teachers. We need to pay them better. We need to fund our education system, and we need to hire more special education teachers. There's no question about it. We need spec ed teachers in our classrooms to help our children who have special needs. So yes, we will fund education properly.
Mr. Ford mentioned Carolyn Parrish on my count 3 times, the mayor of Mississauga. Why did he do that? And is there some sort of past history that's making him want you to take a bait here?
I'm not really entirely sure. What I do know is that he heaped praise on me and my record when I was mayor. He often praised my record as bringing investment into our city and creating jobs and setting the city up for growth. I followed in the path of Hazel McCallion. It's what made her successful, and it generated a lot of wealth and income and prosperity for the city of Mississauga. So that was my #1 goal, to continue to bring investment into our city. And we have one of the highest business assessments right across the province. In fact, we may be the 3rd largest city in the province, maybe 4th by numbers, but the 2nd largest economy because of the strength of the businesses. There are over 100,000 businesses in Mississauga, 75 multinationals and there are 100,000 businesses, 75 are Fortune 500s and 1,200 multinationals.
Bonnie, what's the bar for you to stay on as leader? It's been 3 weeks. The polls are stagnant. You're bouncing between 2nd and 3rd in daily trackers. And so I'm wondering, do you have to win your seat to stay on as leader? Is it official party status? Have you contemplated that?
I don't know. You haven't been at the doors and hearing what I'm hearing. People are pretty angry at this election. They're angry at Doug Ford for calling an election so that he can run away from an RCMP investigation. That's what they see. They see him trying to protect his own job rather than their jobs. And, polls only matter on election night, quite frankly. I think there's a lot of room, and you look at one poll, it says one thing. You look at another poll, you just mentioned yourself, polls are saying different things. We don't look at the polls. We work hard. We have a platform that will attract Ontarians because they care. I said we're going to provide the basics because that's what's important to Ontarians and their families, to ensure that their life is affordable again and that they have a family doctor and that they're not waiting 20 hours at the hospital waiting to be seen by a doctor. You know, Doug Ford said he'd end hallway health care. He didn't get it done. He said he'd cut our taxes. He didn't get it done. And he said he'd build 1.5 million homes, and he didn't get that done either. You can't trust Doug Ford and what he promises.
Does that mean you stay on? Does that mean you stay on as leader if you're unable to get party status?
Ahmed, I'm not going to lose my seat, and we're not going to not lose party status. I'm quite certain of that.
Thank you, guys. He will work harder if he gets a larger mandate. What do you make of him tying his work ethic to the number of seats he gets?
Well, I wish he worked hard all the time. The reality is he has a supermajority. He can pass any legislation he wants to. He called this government because he saw it as an opportunity to run away from an RCMP investigation. He could be governing until June of 2026. This election is unnecessary and expensive, costing taxpayers $189 million.
But should a premier work harder if they have a larger seat count, or should that matter?
He should always work hard, not be at the cottage or wherever it is he goes. Thank you all.